There was a church, right? I can't remember what it was called, Milk and Honey, whatever it was called. But you know when you're in that paradigm, because I was there. You know, like when you're in the church, you are in that paradigm of you're a conformist, you're conforming.
Yes. Yeah.
So there's a certain type of lingo and way of moving when you conform. So everything, because the church is basically, I think, the African house. It's the African thing that holds Africans together is God, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
So when you go to church, for example, you assume that your pastor is the holiest of ever. You think he knows everything. So with this church, for example, he was getting women to come in that maybe had marital issues or couldn't get pregnant or whatever, yeah? And he was taking advantage of them. So he's basically having a power trip because he realized that, oh, well, pardon me, these women really think I'm fucking God. Like, they really believe I'm God. So whenever women would come there, he would fondle their... I think I've still got the video. I'll have to send it to you, like the
Bro, have you
someone
got it right now?
called
Just
him.
play it right now.
It's like someone, I'll have to find for ages, but someone called him.
Yeah.
I'll have to find him. So I think
That's
we're going to
fine.
send it to. It's a thing of not deleting messages.
It is crazy. Like, that's way out of order. So the pastors thinks like they're God, yeah?
Yeah, so like the pastor was, because when I find it, I can play for you, like, yeah. But like the pastor basically is like to the women, if you basically beat him off, you know, and he ejaculates, like that will help their prayers go to heaven or whatever.
What?
Or if you fondle, yeah, like, or if he touches the woman's breast, that's a way of him connecting with her so she can get pregnant. So women would basically be
It's
doing
like what
these
he was
things.
trying to, like, he's finessing these women. Like,
Basically,
you should kind of touch
yeah,
their
it was
breasts and
taking
everything.
advantage. Like, so it was basically a
Advantage.
pervert that was taking advantage. And I think this is what also happens in a lot of churches. I know in London there's one where this guy is making a lot of money from people and like making like fraud, basically like getting young people that are vulnerable or homeless or been kicked out by their families to open up accounts and credit accounts to basically fund his church and his lifestyle in the guise that is helping people. So I think these churches, like, you've got to be very careful.
Corrupted.
The corrupted, yeah. And I think with anything, I'm sure, like Jesus, like you'd really be, I really get shocked by Christians sometimes because I really think to myself, like, Jesus was supposed to be this independent person who everyone went against what he did. So when someone is going against like conformity, you'd think that Christians would be the first to understand. Isn't that, that's
I think
the irony?
people use a lot of what I see is that a lot of criminals use religion, you know, to get their agenda forward. Do you know what I mean? So they try to scare someone.
I'm looking for the video, by the way.
Yeah, someone told you, yeah? Someone told you, they tell you exactly the story, what's going to happen in heaven. Like they've been there before. Do you understand?
Yeah.
And they tell you what's going to happen after death, life after death. Like they know everything, but they don't know. I was like, I'd be sitting like this and looking at these people. Like, have you actually died before? Have you been there?
That's a good question. No one questions
Do you
that.
understand? Like,
No one questions that.
This question has actually been lingering in my head since I was a little kid. Like, I've heard a lot of people. I've heard people. You know, pastors. I've heard people, sheikhs. I've heard all those people. Innit? Like, whether any kind of religion is what I've heard it. They talk to you like life after death. When you die, you're gonna go to heaven if you're doing well in life. You didn't sin, blah blah blah. But if you sin, this is what is for you there. You actually ruined your life. A chances where you're gonna go to a nice heaven with nice fruits, nice things, nice mangoes, nice all of this. Do you know what I mean? Nice wife. You get the prettiest wife ever.
Virgins. How are you fornicating when your body's in the ground? That's what I really like. People don't question that. Like when people are like, you get these many virgins and all this. I'm like, so no one.
Yeah, I was laughing, man. I was laughing my head off.
I'll have to find it and send it like later on because it's like from years back. But it was insane. Like when that radio. It was a radio interview because basically the woman pretended that she was a woman in need, and then she was from a radio show.
Right.
And she called him up and she's like, oh, she lied. I was like, I'm having issues with my whatever. What should I do? And then he's basically talking to her and coercing her and telling her like, you need to come because we need to pray for you. So basically the spirits that are doing this and doing that and doing this. So that's what's stopping you from evolving, if that makes sense. And then she basically exposes him and says at the end of it, actually I'm whatever from this radio host, blah 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 blah. But I mean, oh my god, my story, like I left the church as well. I'm not of the church, you know, I left the church when I was, so like I used to, I talk about this really now, so I think I've healed from it. I've healed from it.
Yeah, because your own energy and power, really. You gotta find your own now.
But you've got to master your energy. You've got to master it. But I've healed from that. So like, I came from a broken home. So like, my mom's a single parent, and obviously God has always been at the pinnacle. I think it's normal. Like, my mom was like, she just, you know, like parents just want the best for their children. I think especially black parents, African parents, so they think the church is the best way. It's their conditioning. I don't blame them now, because I have that through my own healing.
That's what they gave. You got to understand that. That's what they gave you. Like throughout slavery, when people talk about slavery as well, like in Africa, slavery happens in Africa more than the Caribbeans and America. People don't know that, because when Africa's got colonized, every black person that subdued, worked as a slave for, you know, for the progress of the Europeans. You understand? And that's why you've been a slave there, and then it's been given the Bible, it's been given the Quran. Do you know what I'm saying? So they taught you where to read as well, innit? Do you know what I mean? And that's why people, like when you're talking about the African parents, they just take the Bible literally.
It's because they're just or they take the Quran literally for a reason, innit? It's like people can only teach you what they know. I think that's what it is. Like, people can only teach you what they know. It goes back to that thing we're talking about hair. If your mom didn't teach you the value of how you need to look after your hair, or how to wash yourself, or how to love yourself, she can only teach you what she knows. You can only teach what you know. So unless you then go out of your way to expand on your knowledge and expand on what your perspective is, so you can outlive or outgrow previous generations, then you're going to be stuck in that repetitive cycle. But I think it's like, for me, like I was saying before, like I've healed from that, but like I think I've got a lot of compassion for people that haven't, or not conscious of that yet, because I was once there. And like, I know that when you come out of it, it's scary, because you lose friends, you know, you lose family members. Like, for example, I've gone through homelessness because of it. Like, you know, people won't speak to you because you're this outsider, but it's just they're responding as a conformist would, because society teaches you that. Like, it teaches you to reject anything you don't understand. That's the whole point of it, so then it can keep people plugged into their codependent ways. You know. But like, for me, like, we were raised off the church, and I think it's only when I was like, I used to collapse and become unconscious, like, without warning. And at the time, like, we were around, they called them apostles, you know, like the people that wear white. So like, we were introduced to people like that, and I think we have them in Zimbabwe, and they basically pray for you, and let's say if you're going through a trial or tribulation, if they pray for you, my belief back then, the conditioning was, if they pray to you because they're connected to God, they get your prayers to God faster, you know, I saw them as the ones that were the healers, if that makes sense. I'm not capable enough of healing myself. I always thought that they had to. So like, I used to collapse, and like, they would use excuses like, oh, you know, it's bad spirits from back home, or, you know, you're being possessed by this demon, blah blah blah. So as a kid, obviously growing up in England, that fucked up my head, because I'm just like, I'm collapsing, I don't know what's wrong with me, I'm going to the doctors, they're saying everything's fine, so clearly it must be these demons, you know, clearly it's these things. So like, with them, they'll give you water, or these different things that they've prayed for you
Holy
to drink.
water.
Yeah, that's it. Anointed water, anointed oils that they give people these days, and all that nonsense. So I think it's up until I broke free from those shackles because of my relationship with Nikki, because that caused a lot of controversy as well, because I'm Southern African and he's West African. So that caused a lot of controversy, because the people in the church were like, because they have foresight, they're signing.
Who's an African or West African?
Huh? Nikki's West, he's from Guinea-Bissau. And I'm Zimbabwean. So you know the way the old school generation people, they're always like, you can't date someone that's from West Africa. So that's like Nigeria, you know, Guinea-Bissau, all those places, and their excuse is because they do witchcraft. You know, have you not watched the Nigerian movies? Have you not watched? Yeah. Have you? You just answered it.